Hello and welcome to the Dallas After Show. I am James Lott Jr. here on JLJ Media. Please subscribe to the channel. It's right below you, JLJ Media. Also, if you're listening to me, hi, podcast listeners. You can, wherever you find this, on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple, Google, wherever, hit that follow button or subscribe button so you'll know when new episodes come out. I do them just about every week. Thank you, everybody, for the response to the shows. To the episodes have been great. I love doing these. I love Dallas. And thank you to the folks in the Facebook groups on Facebook who are the Dallas groups. Let me share it in their groups. Thank you so much. Let me share it. I appreciate that. My hair is crazy. It was my birthday last week, so I'm still celebrating that. And yes, those of you who saw me on Jimmy Kimmel, that was me on Jimmy Kimmel last Wednesday, May 12th, making history. If you want to see it, you can watch it on Hulu or ABC.com. So this one we're talking about is a very serious storyline, and that is the Miss Ellie storyline of the mastectomy. Brilliantly played by Bel Geddes, but also special mentions to Jim Davis and Victoria Principal. She was nominated and won. Okay, so this doesn't happen very often. She won lead actress in a drama series Emmy, Primetime Emmy, 1981. This was happened between in the 79-80 season. And she won the Emmy for it. And now there are many actors and actresses who've been nominated for Emmys in primetime soaps back in the day, but not many of them actually would win. Soaps still had a little stigma against them, but there was some great storylines and great acting on soaps. People like to talk crap about that, but no, there is. And Bel Geddes delivered. So we start from the beginning where she feels a lump. And the show was very informative. And this is 40 years ago. This wasn't talked about a lot. It's talked about much more now. My mom had breast cancer last year and survived. I have a lot of friends who've had breast cancer. I have friends who've had mastectomies, who didn't have cancer cells but still had to get mastectomies. So it's something more talked about today. But back then, this wasn't talked about as much. So I thought this was a groundbreaking storyline. In real life, she had a radical mastectomy back in 71. So again, you went through this in real life, and now you're going through it on the show. I'm sure, I mean, she's a great actress. Bel Geddes is a great actress, let's not get me wrong. I'm sure she has personal experience to pull from to actually, go through this. Her first thing was she finds out, she feels a lump. They show her go to the doctor. And again, the doctors, they had all the things set up. They had lots of information on these episodes. I mean, really did. They tell you, went step by step by. She's like, I felt a lump, but it's not cancerous. And no, some lumps aren't cancerous. They did a whole kit and caboodle. So you hear all about what it's like to go through that when you go to the doctor. But you should, check yourself, and then you should, and then not all lumps are cancerous. Not all of them. Now, you don't always get a mastectomy. Various things can, but she did feel a lump, which you should always self-test. You still should check those breasts, and men, check your scrotum. Testicular cancer is very big concern too. But she finds out that she's going to need a mastectomy. And what I thought was really brilliant is that she's a woman of a certain age, we'll say a seasoned woman, but that you never stop wanting to feel attractive. Also, breasts are a very important part of a woman. And it showed that the thought of having to get rid of one or both breasts, that was a major psychological issue, especially in a marriage. And she first goes to Pam, which I thought natural choice. Goes to Pam. Pam is just, there for her and loves her mother-in-law. She has a line, which I want to make sure I wrote this down to make sure I say it correctly, that I just loved. And she's like, why don't you want to tell Jock? And she's talking about how she's really scared, how she's going to look afterwards. He keeps getting better looking as he gets older. And she later says, he admires beauty. He'll leave me. He'll look the other way. And I thought that was something that was such a telling thing, that about men in society. He's going to get older. They look better, so to speak, to society, and how women get older. It's like they're old. And that's the truth. There are beautiful women who are older, and men who aren't good looking and get older. But even for her, that self-imposed self-esteem was that Jock was a powerful, handsome man, and that if she gets this mastectomy, And if you know what mastectomy is, it means cutting off a breast, basically. Um, and she'll feel different, and he'll look at her differently. So it was a very sexual thing, even though it wasn't salacious. It was just very. She still wants to feel attracted to her husband, to her man. I thought that was realistic. Then her scenes with Jock, when he finally finds out, we saw Jock in a different way. He was very vulnerable. She was very vulnerable. He was very tender with her in these scenes. He was very reassuring. You could tell he loved Ellie. He loved his wife, and that they were going to go through this together. It was a little soft. It was a softer side of Jock we just didn't really see much of. But he loved his woman, and she was. It was just. I just love those scenes. There's a scene. There's two scenes in particular. One where she has mastectomy at the hospital. She's looking, and she goes to a mirror in the room. She has the gown still on, and she starts to feel her chest. And they're showing us on TV. It's not sexual at all. It's very soft, and she's like just feeling her chest and breaks down. Oh, Barbara Gates just does it. She just weeps. She weeps. That scene gets me. Another scene is when she's back at home. They have the Ewing dinners they always do. Lucy, which again, gives some credit to Charlene Tilton. She's the granddaughter. She's the female Ewing in the house. The rest are married Ewing. She's a female Ewing, and she gets scared because breast cancer can be hereditary. Her reaction was very kind of cold, kind of just kind of staying away from her grandmother. She was scared and afraid. Very realistic, and what a great part of the storyline. Bring a little something. And a little drink. I thought that was great. I remember, and at the dinner table, she catches us. She's like, "No, you're not really saying anything to me since I've been home." And she's like, "I just been busy, Grandma. I'm trying to be really polite." But she was scared. They have a reunion later. But she was really scared because she's thinking about herself. What if it comes down to me? What if I get it? And I thought that was interesting because there's all these Ewing men. She's a Ewing woman. Totally makes sense in the storyline. But later after that, she goes upstairs, starts pulling out her dresses. Now, I noticed Miss Ellie was a fashionista. I never really looked at her dress. I never really looked at how she dressed. She's Miss Ellie. Just never really thought about it before. But she's pulling them up and putting them up to her, looking in a mirror. And she breaks down, like just breaks down. And Jock comes in and she tells him, none of these dresses fit. That must be a trip because this is part of you, because when women dress for their, they have to include their breast size when it comes to bras and clothes and shirts and what will fit and not fit. I mean, all of us have to check our, our bodies, but for women, it is breasts. They're part of the package. How big, how small you are, that's part of it. And when she said you don't fit anymore, that line is just, it just cuts me. It's like that. It's like she sees herself so differently. She feels deformed. It was very real. It was very realistic. No wonder she won the Emmy. I mean, I'm just like, it was brilliant work by her. And again, by Jim Davis as Jock. But I thought this was an interesting topic to give it to her. First one, not one of the younger ladies, not just Sue Ellen or Pam. They gave it to Miss Ellie. We had to see Miss Ellie as a woman, not just a mother and grandmother, not just a person who owns South Fork, whatever. So we saw her as a woman. And many of us, as we get older, we see our parents as parents first, and then we see them as men and women. I see my parents as men and women. It's very interesting. As a child, it's a very interesting, even as an adult child, it's a very interesting thing to see, a conclusion to come to. I thought this is when Dallas was telling solid stories, and the drama was within the diagnosis, and there was nothing, they didn't have to go over the top. Everything was very subtle. This was a public service announcement to millions of women out there who watched the show. The show was a hit back then. The message got out there, but it wasn't sensational. They have to do dramatic license. It literally was like real life. Like we were peering in through the window and seeing real life happen in front of us. So I want to make sure it's just one of my favorite episodes of the show. of the series. Just really good. I want to talk about that. Tell me what you think, which I usually most of you do. I'd love you to tell me what you think. Let's continue the conversation. How you felt those episodes? Anyone go through mastectomy themselves? Did you relate to it? How realistic was it for you? Was it triggering for you? Was it hard for you to watch? Let me all know how it goes. We're on everywhere, and JLJ Media is everywhere, and James Lott Jr. is everywhere. And it's Dallas After Show. We'll see you next week. Thank you.